Sup nerds, I'm Tom.
I'm Wes.
And I'm Aaron.
And we're taking a look at Pulsar 20-something and numbers.
2849.
We're gonna watch Blade Runner 2049.
Pulsar 2849, or as we like to call it, Pulsar. It's just too long.
I like to just call it 2.
It's a space exploration game with dice drafting as the main driver of what you choose to do your actions.
It's the main component of one of the smaller components in the game.
The dice drafting is really what the core of this game evolves around. At the beginning of the round, the dice are rolled, everybody's going to draft from that pool. But as you're drafting, you're kind of thinking, okay, if I get this number die, I can use it for these actions here, or use it for moving, or I can use it to buy these things, or these upgrades, or flip my gyrodynes. There's so many things to think about. But once you actually draft those dice, there's only so many things you can actually do with them. So it's kind of a lot of thought at the beginning of your turn, before you even have your turn drafting, but then once you've drafted them, it's kind of on your turn, it's a little quicker and easier. And
it's even more than just what do you want to do? Okay, well that takes a 6 and that takes a 4, so on those numbers. But because depending on what dice you draft, move you on the initiative track and then the other track, the engineering track. So a lot of it is, I really need a 6 right now to activate this gyrodyne. But both my markers are really low, and I really don't want the negative points from that. So is it worth a 6, or do I want to get this so I can get a dice modifier and then make this 4 a 6? So when he says there's a lot of thinking about it, he's right.
It definitely can do the analysis paralysis. But the thing is, it's because there's so many options. There are so many different places where you can spend your die, depending on what face that it is. And that's when I'm teaching this game to somebody, I'm like, so you're drafting the die, and what are you using these for? Well, whatever the face it's showing, when you look around here, if you see that face, you can spend it to do that thing. Or you can spend it to move. Or you could spend it to get a modifier, so that way now you can have this 4 is now a 5, so it just opens up even more options. But once you take those 2 die, it's just 2 die. There's only so many combinations you could do with those 2 die. Of course, if you have modifiers, there's more. But that is one of the main things that I love about Pulsar 2849, is that while it is a really complex game, I'm definitely not going to suggest that you use this as an intro game for anybody, but when you teach it to somebody for their first time, probably an already experienced gamer, you can say, I know it looks like there's a lot of options, but once you take those die, your options go, you have a 2 and a 5. What are you going to use those on?
I do think that a lot of the analysis paralysis, it doesn't just come from the options. For me, it comes from trying to hold so many numbers in my head at once. Okay, I get the 4 to do this, or I use the 3 to do this one, which unlocks other numbers for me, and now I have the bonus die, so that does this, so then I can use the 4 to that. No, wait, I already used the 4 to get the bonus die. I can't use the bonus die to do something. I need the 4, but I need another die. So it's so much, and then you add modifiers to that, and you're, okay, I can make this 4 a 5 with this modifier to that, but if I make it a 3, and you're trying to remember what dice you had, what modifiers you used, what modifiers you're getting.
Simple.
Yeah.
And a lot of your decisions can actually be guided by the main goals of the game, which are dealt out at the beginning, which are, randomized, depending on if it's have a bunch of technologies built, or, just actually get a lot of your gyrodynes started. That kind of helps guide you. That and the fact that the more planets you get, there's that ramp up of points. Mm-hmm. I actually played one game where I was I'm just going to try and max out, getting as many planets as I can. I just was flying around a bunch, and I get the 50 bonus points at the end. It's awesome, but I neglected a couple of other things, so it didn't really work out.
Are you going through puberty again? Your voice cracked 3 times.
A big perk to actually exploring and going to all these different planets, the little galaxies, and flipping them over, is you get those bonus either cubes or modifiers, or sometimes it's the bonus die. Those are really powerful in their own means, because it kind of saves you. If I land here and put my marker down, I get these bonus modifiers. That's saving me from having to either buy them or get them from placing a token on here to unlock them on my little
on your player board,
yeah.
Which they recommend on your first game not to use, but I've never not used them.
We always use everything.
Yeah, pretty much.
The first time I played it, I didn't even use my player board. It was there, and I kept thinking about it, but there's so many other things on the board I wanted to do, and I was really going for these what are those called?
Technologies? No, that's the technologies. These are transmitters.
I was really going for those transmitters because every time you flipped them over and connected, like as they connected, you're getting bonus die, and like just the fact that I was like, okay, so if I spend an action now getting that, it's going to get me victory points, plus the next time I unlock one, I'm getting a bonus die to get an extra action, which can help me unlock another one. And like basically every turn after the first turn, I was getting an extra action from those transmitters connecting. So,
That is a really good strategy to just do your best to try and have 3 actions every turn.
Absolutely. And actually, I had one game where it became a problem where I did like, I kept getting like 3 different things in one turn that would give me a bonus die because you only get 1. I'm like, I don't even know, like, is it worth doing right now? Is it worth scoring this transmitter right now? Because I already used my bonus die to score this transmitter as well.
Well, you only get 1 red die. There are those things that'll give you the red and another silver. So like in theory, you can have 4 actions, and like even though one of your actions is to get those other 2 actions, but that might be on the technology tree, which might be for one of the main goals. Like this game, it stacks so much. All of the things, all of your actions. It's like efficiency. You're not just doing this to get a thing. You're doing this to get you further on this track, which will get you closer to this, which will help you out do that. Like, that's probably one of the main things I love about this is the combo-y. Like, look at these. These are gears. My fingers are gears.
That's his favorite thing to do in the videos, just the gear thing.
It makes so much sense. Everybody knows it. Everybody owns a clock.
That efficiency does kind of limit what you can do in a game. Like, it's not one of those games where you're going to get everything done. Like, you have your own board, you know, the technology tree you're going for, and you have the transmitters you're going for, you have the gyrodynes you're going for. So you could do a little bit of everything. But I feel like, especially because these goals typically point you to like 2 or 3 of those things to do, that you really end up, or at least in my games, I really ended up like focusing on like 1 or 2 things, not like.
There's only 8 rounds.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I saw you get all 3 of the goals.
Yeah, I got all 3 of the goals.
No, you can get all 3 goals, but I'm saying
you can't maximize.
You can't get 13 planets and all of the gyrodynes.
And all of those and every technology.
And your whole player board filled up. Like it's that's not going to happen.
Impossible.
And then end the game with 30 white cubes, like.
Yeah, enough white cubes to do all of the extra things. Like, I've never had that many cubes because I'm taking too many big actions and lowering myself on the engineering track. And
I did have that many cubes in a game that we were playing the rules wrong.
Yeah, our very first game, me and Wes just kind of like brushed through the rules, as we normally do. And there were some pretty big things we were doing wrong. Like, instead of spending a die to get a pulsar and a die to flip it, we were just putting it on there already flipped. And
it was a fun game, though.
Whenever we passed over we were dropping our little discs on planets that like we had already been on. Like we'd go through it and then come back again and drop them on there twice and stuff.
Anytime you place a disc, you just have to give the other person $1.
I do want to talk about these tracks a little more. The engineering track is like very important if you want to spend these energy cubes to get extra actions, or if you want to use them at the end of the game to score those extra victory points.
Yeah, on the bonus tiles.
Yeah, on the bonus tiles. And there's actually a couple of the transmitters that you can spend these 4 victory points at the end of each round. So being up on that track is, very important if you want to gain a bunch of those cubes. And with the initiative track, you either want to be first or you want to be last. It's what I've kind of noticed. Last, you do get like 4th pick, or if you're in a 4-player game, but you also get the 5th pick, so you can actually like tailor your whole turn based on what dice are left. When you're first, you're like, okay, I get the first pick, at least that's like good, but I guess then you get the last pick.
But you also, your last pick, if you are getting these engineering cubes, or if you are doing the transmitters where you know you're going to get a bonus die, whenever I was going first, I was like, wait, my last pick, I can always pick the one further to the left and move up on the engineering track or whatever, because I know I'm going to copy a die. I'm either going to copy this 1 or copy this 6. Well, obviously, I'd much rather copy the 6 and get to move my tracker up here. So they both have their advantages and disadvantages. I think you were right in saying that the biggest detriment is being in the middle, because then you get screwed both ways.
It does really matter what the other people are doing as well. Like, and the one game we were playing where me and Aaron were kind of vying back and forth for like 2nd and 3rd place, which was middle and last, and Tom was like 20 points ahead, 20 spots. They're not 20 spots, but he was way ahead.
20 spots.
So it no longer became like, well, I don't really care if I don't need to shoot up ahead because I'll still be like 5 spots behind Tom. So I'm not really that worried. I just don't want to drop too low.
Overall, I really enjoy Pulsar. I feel like this game I can't get enough out of it. I don't have enough rounds to like fully maximize everything like we're talking about. Like I'm like, oh, I want to, get all of my cubes, all of my tokens on here and unlock all these things on my player board. I also want to get all these technologies. I want to explore the entire galaxy. Like there's just so much to do. Plus I'm, trying to get these the gyrodynes started up so that I can, get victory points every turn. And the whole drafting at the beginning of the round is something I really enjoy in this game. Like it's not the fact that, okay, on my turn I get 2 actions and everybody's just going to do the exact same 2 actions. It's like my actions are based on what I can draft, and what I can draft is whatever gets rolled at the beginning. So there's like a whole bunch of like RNG that like no 2 rounds are going to be the same because there's not going to be the same dice out there or the same combinations of things to do. You're going to be in a different place. Like there's just so much, and it varies from game to game. There's all these different technologies that you can play with because they're all double-sided, and there's multiple boards. There's
multiple rewards.
Yeah,
these are double-sided.
There's just like every time you play it, you can play as a different player board. There's just a lot of replayability is why I like it so much, and the fact that it's gonna take a while, a lot of not really practice because it comes down to dice and drafting, but like
right.
a lot of plays to kind of
experience.
Figure out the best way to go about it.
And figure out what things are really worth doing, and if it's worth getting a bunch of these, or just you want to get one early on and then go off of it.
Exactly. So I really enjoy this game.
So I definitely enjoyed Pulsar a lot. It was a really fun game, especially once we got the rules right. The points stayed pretty close with me and Tom. Aaron not as much. But he had a lot of points that didn't score until the end, which shot him up like 60 points in end of game scoring. But I feel like it's really close, it's really tight, especially if you have people that kind of understand what they're doing. You can really like go neck and neck with each other. I do kind of wish it had more theme to it because, it looks beautiful. I love the way it looks. And I get that CGE likes to do these games, like there's no words on it, so there's no real like language issues as long as you understand the rules.
Yeah,
it's all symbols. But because of that, there's almost no theme to it. Like you're flying around through space and you're discovering planets and you're upgrading technology, but like there's not like this technology does this. It's like, oh, now I have this ability, or now I unlocked a run that I can do, but I don't know why I'm doing that. Mm-hmm. So I don't really like fault it and say, oh, it's a bad game because there's no theme. But I think I would have liked it a lot more if there was.
It's about as much theme as every Euro game, though. Like,
yeah, you got to go read the lore of this game. Like, there's comics on it and stuff.
Are there really?
I was like,
comics that Aaron drew.
It's all fan fiction.
It's all on napkins.
And I think that's part of my issue with Euro games. But even if you're like, okay, I'm gonna go get this wood so I can get bricks so I can build a road. To me, that has more theme.
What game is that?
Catan.
Well, it's obviously I know that.
I thought you were an idiot. I don't know. But like that has more theme than just I'm flying around and I get to fly extra now because I flew to this planet that lets me fly more. Like it could be there more. It is a great game. It's a weird balance for me between like heavy and short. Like I feel like it just takes so much like brain power and thinking and all of this, and then it's over. Mm-hmm. Like it's a lot of thinking, but it feels like it's an hour, but it feels way quicker than that. So it's just a weird thing for me to kind of wrap my head around. But I mean, all of that aside, those are my negatives, which are kind of some really nitpicky things. It is just a fantastic game that I love playing.
I really like one of the things that Wesley said there. It's a great segue into my thoughts on this game, is when he said that the game has no theme. While I agree with that, I care less about the lack of theme as much as I care about the kind of, the graphic designs kind of leads something to be desired. Like, it looks good, but it doesn't look like great. You know what I mean? Like, I always compare it to, like the Fantasy Flights where they put all this intricate background into, like, there's a space in the back here and this circle thing looks really nice, but like in theory, hole. But I'm just saying, like, think whenever I compare space games, like if you look like Twilight Imperium, all those hexes have like all these little intricate borders and all these like little numbers and things, little Star Warsy stuff, that is probably the only negative I can pull about this game, because I absolutely love it and there are so many reasons. probably one of the biggest ones is while it's a really big, dense game, and I really enjoy all the thinkiness, and it can get a little analysis paralysis, but I like that. But I love how it does this. Okay, you have this die and that die. What are you gonna do? While my rule of thumb is normally if I can teach a game to my mom, it's a pretty easy game. Now granted, I'm probably not gonna play this game with my mom, but whenever I go home and she wants to play games, I usually pull out Seven Wonders Duel because it's kind of complex. And when I was teaching it to her the first time, she was like, oh my God, there's so many rules. And I said, right, but we're drafting these cards. And there's a lot of instances where it just comes down to that, there's this card and that card. What do you want to take? This card will let you do that, and this card will let you do that. During the drafting phase, sure, there's a lot of AP, but once you have your 2 die, or if you're going, last and you have to pick the 2 dice from what's remaining, your options go, and you think about this or about that. And yet there's still so much density and so much depth to that choice. And the drafting itself is unique. Not only are you drafting dice, but you're moving along these tracks based off of the average of the die, right? Where the median is, and you don't just draft. You draft first and then it snakes back. And then when you fly around, those points are really important, but gyrodynes get you points every single turns, but technologies can get you bonus die. There are so many avenues in this game. Like Aaron was saying, there's so many different modules and stuff, so many things you can do that I could play this game 100 times, never really playing it the same time over. And that's why I absolutely love this game. And if any of what we said in this video sounds interesting to you, you can go ahead and click the purchase link in the description box down below and get yourself a copy.
While you're down there, don't forget to subscribe so you'll never be bored.
So you'll never
You're
be
going to say it.
So I definitely enjoyed